Good morning from New York. Today, neoliberalism, corporate Trump dismantling of help for the poor, and President Claudia Sheinbaum of Mexico. First of all, let's take a look at neoliberalism and its impact on economics. Neoliberalism and its usual prescriptions: always more markets, always less government, and in fact, a perversion of mainstream economics. This was by a statement by Danny, D-A-N-I, Rodrik, R-O-D-R-I-K. Uh, Even the harshest critics concede neoliberalism is hard to pin down. In broad terms, it denotes a preference for markets over government, economic incentives over cultural norms, and private entrepreneurship over collective action. It's been used to describe a wide range of phenomena, from Augusto Pinochet to Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan, the guy that made me a staunch Democrat, from the Clinton Democrats, and UK's New Labour to the economic opening in China and the reform of the welfare state in Sweden. Wow. Well, this is from an article, I am assuming by, come on, I'm assuming this article is by the one that was quoted. Uh, Danny Rodrik. It doesn't say it was a quote, so it must be written by Danny Rodrik. All right. Well, yeah, we can see that pattern here in the United States. And how does that relate to the mission of the channel to increase empathetic awareness? Well, empathetic awareness has to be pro growth for the personality of the person. Um, there are three kinds of empathy that we talk about, and one is objective. That means a real respect for science. And another is creative, which means the respect of a variety of perspectives and opinions. Um, all in both in caring ways, empathetic ways, ways respectful of the feelings of the other person, and sharing their feeling while communicating in more objective and creative ways. The third, compassionate empathy, which is a caring kind of understanding and feeling for another person's feelings in a way that encourages that individual to feel safe to express their deepest needs. So, as I've said before, these are kind of all perspectives that you see in society. Your extended family organizations taking on the role of the the compassionate empathy job, supposedly, and government, supposedly, is taking the role of objective empathy. These are shoulds, and to what degree depends on the health of the society. And creative empathy, that's the job of the media. All of these voices need to have their free expression and have an influence on the core of any society, which is trade, economics, business, which is like the more survivally attached, um, dramatic self in ourselves, which I call the kid, because it's highly emotional, needs to be better connected through these forms of empathy, which can also be used as treatments for CPTSD and PTSD, in my opinion. Very likely so, actually. In fact, to some degree, those the effective treatments for these things do take into account these perspectives. Yeah, but they a lot of times they don't take all of those perspectives, and they may miss the simple empathetic awareness without language. A part of us, which I call the ref- reflection on the infant mind. Um, so it's kind of like a simple awareness of your feelings and your ability to be at play with them and your ability to express them. And these things, these things why, I see you've got to invest in a society to have a healthy government. You have to invest, especially in women and babies and small children, because it's so impacting. These years are so impacting. And I also say that neoliberalism is a disease that comes about because of the wrong approach we take to education, where we leave out children's feelings, where we don't teach them emotional and social intelligence. And doing that would allow us to intervene and help children at an early stage. Very good society. And the education system seems not to include that for now. Increasingly, I've seen little elements of it here and there, but it's not nearly to the degree it needs to be. And hmm, also, I criticize an educational system that takes brilliant infants and children, that can learn so much so quickly, and little geniuses turn them into unthinking members of the herd. That happens in a lot of ways. Um, hmm, Parents that are not truly grown and healthy in terms of their own empathetic, and way that we teach kids what to think instead of how to think. So teaching kids how to think can be much more fun. And one teacher was very successful in teaching, bringing the grades up of children by teaching them chess and putting them in a group and having them compete as a group. I read all of the kids benefited from that. I think this individual testing is not shouldn't be so emphasized. We need to test children in groups and change those groups around so that every child has a chance to contribute to a variety of groups and learn from that, and where the pressure isn't so scary. I failed. Well, our group lost the contest. Maybe next time we win. Not better. And maybe I'll be in the group that wins next time. So that kind of takes some of the pressure off and help, and we're helping kids, and meanwhile, to have higher levels of emotional intelligence, social intelligence, which are basically just almost synonymous. Um, I would be comfortable with either approach. Um, Now this helps build the foundation that means that neoliberalism would have a hard time finding fertile ground to grow in. It grows in an ignorant um, democracy of people, if it's a democracy at all, an ignorant populace that isn't taught objectivity, creativity, and compassion. Um, it's all these distractions that you see um, that keep people from paying attention to politics. That politics impacts people a great deal. In fact, the local politics maybe even more so than big glorified national politics in a country. In fact, the national politics grows out of that local political endeavors, where we train the new politicians, and that's important. And being a politician, there's nothing wrong with that job. What you do with it, you know. But you can see in neoliberalism, it puts down government, and it's where you get this kind of nonsense about I'm not a politician, and that they're running for office, right? You're not a politician. Politics is a bad word. Well, if people don't discuss politics in a caring kind of a way, in a mutually empathetic kind of a way, yeah, it's easy to herd those people into isolated groups. Yeah, and away from real democracy. Now we're looking at Trump, and he's generals say he's a fascist to the core. And working with him is like something like the Twilight Zone. He alienates our allies and emboldens our enemies. Enemies, I'm saying, of democracy. Why is democracy so important? Well, it's the only place where there's even a chance of seeing individual human rights and real empathy growing. It's this empathy that is the good message of any religion. And it's the point at which people from different religions and backgrounds can come together. A very important thing, the sympathy. Now, talk about cutting the legs off of and destroying the fertile ground for neoliberalism. But what about currently? What do we do? Well, a great example is Claudia Sheinbaum and Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, the president of Mexico before Claudia Sheinbaum, who is carrying on in his legacy. Um, Mexico is rising economically and cutting its ties with poisonous connections um, to neo-political, neoliberal political approaches. Neoliberalism, while often endorsing some kind of religion, be it communism or some other, um, even more bizarre view, you can, but in isolation, cutting people off from other people in order to manipulate the whole population. If the whole population, which definitely would outnumber those who are greedy for power, if you cut them off from communicating with each other honestly about their needs in a caring way, that political power would oust them from government, from being in the government in the first place. They know that. So what you'll see is anger and fear instead of real loving empathy coming out of these sorts of people. I'm your friend because I hate your enemies. That's the message of a fascist like Trump. Well, who are these enemies? Other human beings. Pretty soon, democracy, you're cutting the legs out from under democracy because the people can't work together. They can't have a picture that benefits everybody. And so they're locked into their own selfishness, which is not very mature spiritually. Real maturity and spiritual maturity is the advancement of these forms of empathy. Um, you say, why do you say spiritual? Because from objective empathy, you get truth. From compassionate empathy, goodness. And from creative empathy, you get artfulness. Yeah. The ability to create and explore many perspectives. All of these relate to survival because they meet human needs. It also relates to virtues, which I've named. So, whatever your differences in religion or even sometimes politics, these these factors are what unite humanity as a whole, not just in one country, but the whole world. We're in a web. Whatever happens in one country has an impact on all the rest. So this message goes out to everybody uh, in the world, and it's up to each and all of us, each and every one of us, to do whatever small thing we can do. And that doesn't mean going so far out of your comfort zone that you end up not doing anything at all, or finding your efforts so burdensome and tiring that you have to quit. Everything's gradual. Okay, be patient. So, what I think we need to do um, is to understand, for one thing, that there's no perfect political party or candidate. So, but even though you can put a negative spin on that and say we're voting for the lesser of evils, you have to remember that the lesser of evils is always also the greater of good. And as we prune away by consistently voting for the better, um, we're cutting off the limbs of the social plant that are hindering its growth spiritually. And that's very important. Mm, And spirituality, by the way, is nothing to do with your concept of God. You can believe in such a thing or not. You can have all kinds of opinions. It really doesn't matter. Um, what's important is getting human needs met and doing that effectively. And politics is very important to that. So in a democracy, it's your duty to vote, and hopefully you will vote wisely. Let's see what Denny has to say. Well, it's said here in this article, um, the use of the term neoliberal exploded in the 1990s when it became closely associated with two developments, neither of which it refers to Peter's article. I guess that was something uh, earlier in this article. With two developments, neither, no, no, yeah, one of these was financial deregulation, which would culminate in the 2008 financial crash. Trying to say crisis there. In the still lingering euro debacle. The second was economic globalization, which accelerated thanks to free flows of finance and to a new, more ambitious type of trade agreement. Financialization and globalization have become the most overt manifestations of neoliberalism in today's world. And it says the liberalization is a slippery, shifting concept with no explicit lobby of defenders. Does not mean that it is irrelevant or unreal. Who can deny that the world has experienced a decisive shift toward markets from 1980s on? Okay. In the empathetic inner mind communication philosophy, this puts too much power, neoliberalism puts too much power in the hands of business, that is, in the hands of the wealthy. Trade needs to be fair trade in order to be truly free trade. So, government policies and programs to lift up our children and give us meaningful, long lives. Um, hmm, that's very important. Ah, yeah, it's very early today for me. I need uh, I need your comments. I need your help. Please subscribe. Please donate. Donate. Donate your time to make comments. Yeah, appreciate that. And ask any questions you want. And yeah, share the video. You know, think it's well enough done. And yeah, like the video if you do. But we're all in this game together. And I'm reaching out. I'm 71 years old. There isn't a whole lot of time left for a poor guy, 71 years old, with a history of important diseases. So hmm, it seems that we don't have a crowd of younger people who are, yes, too busy with cell phones. But we're on your cell phone too. So let's hope that while they're using their cell phones, they might notice the channel. And having agreed with its fundamentals, start to help to promote it. I have two allies working with this, but their time's very limited. Seen me a lot. What we would like to do is to see you a lot and spread this message around the world. Message of real hope, real love. So, yeah, I'm closing it down before I ramble senselessly like poor Trump. It needs to be in a mental health facility, and unable to get out and influence people, and until maybe he gets well. Like me, it's toward the end. Yeah, you'd think he'd be concerned about his legacy. Well, anybody should be about what they leave in their wake. And Elon, what are you doing following this guy? You're destroying your name. You're creating a bad legacy for yourself. Be more objective. Try to be more compassionate. Try to recognize workers' rights, and the value of democracy so that the world can come to love this bright young fellow and not have your name go down in history as someone who supported a seditionist and, as the generals say, a fascist to the core. Think about it. Bezos, think about that too. Anyway, the best to all and everyone. And remember to respect and love others wherever they are, however they are, whoever they are. Thus uphold the promise of democracy.